Good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here today. We are discussing the driving force behind the financial revolution, and the adoption of AI is clearly the common trend we are observing. Could each of you briefly name the biggest evolution or shift this trend is bringing to your respective segment of the financial sector?
Sure. Sophie? I think the biggest trend that certainly we're observing, or one of the biggest trends, is the sheer size of data that customers are now accumulating. We're really seeing more and more customers really understand what data could do for them, and really looking to collect more and more data. So the target addressable market of data is just increasing exponentially. If you think about it, there's more data in the sense of public, private, alternative data. There is increasingly more unstructured data, text, audio, images, and now also a lot of synthetic data customers are collecting to train their models. So I think large language models and AI has really changed the way we think about data, bringing together both structured and unstructured data into a holistic strategy. And I think that's going to create a lot more opportunities for deeper insights, more alpha, and more new ideas for this industry.
Hello everyone, very happy to be here today. First, I would like to stress that this new technology, AI, is probably the biggest change or potential change I've seen in finance since the dematerialization even before internet. I think it's bigger than internet. It's difficult to choose the biggest change because every quarter you've got something new in AI. It's just amazing. First, I was impressed by the chat capacities. Now I see that people in Amundi use knowledge bases and they play with knowledge base that they create. But probably the biggest thing is agentic AI and agent orchestration. And the app we have in Amundi that I prefer is an app with 5 agents, which enables an investment specialist to look at the news, in the information news, look at its portfolio and prepare a marketing document that it can give as a news to its clients. Of course, he's responsible of it. And this is possible. It has been possible for just 2 to 3 months. So that's the speed that is the most interesting.
Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here as well. I'm not going to repeat what has been said by both Rinesh and Guillaume. Maybe to add another point, which is very interesting with this new technology wave, is the speed of adoption. It's crazy how our employees are eager to use all the technological possibilities brought by AI. We have 2 main areas where we work, which are the augmented investor, meaning leveraging much more private and public data to inform our decision. And the other one, of course, is automation and productivity. But there is a craze for it. And this is quite new when you look at the technological wave.
Thank you, Sophie. We agree that AI cannot be discussed in isolation, but in the context of data. What is for you, in order for AI to be a success, the most significant fundamental data or architectural prerequisite financial institution must address right now before diving deeper into AI deployment?
So I believe one critical thing is, so I operate in what we call private market. So Guillaume operates in public and private market, but mostly in public market, meaning that we invest in what we call the real economy. So it's companies which are not on listed market. So companies on which you have very little information. What we are seeing right now is a risk for commoditization of our line of business. We've all seen high-frequency trading. We've all seen algorithm for trading. So how, in the private market, do we keep what makes us unique? And at Eurazeo, we are an investment platform which has been existed for several decades. and we own very detailed data on several thousand of deals. And what we're working on is how do we keep our uniqueness? How do we augment our unique ability to analyze deals, to analyze potential investment and drive value with them, combining public data, market data with our very own specific data set. And for us, this is critically important because we need to add a very specific value to our customers.
There is a report from Gartner which says that 85% of AI projects fail because of bad AI data quality. So if you propose to your employees access to LLM but with no data from the enterprise, very quickly it becomes a gadget. So I think really the importance is having access to the data in the company. The data that are not public, this is key. And of course those data, they must be good and they must be secured and regulated. You know, in finance we've got this new regulation around data lineage. If you don't have that, then the AI will not be effective. We've got a platform in Amundi called Alto AI Studio, and it even enables to access C4 information, the top security information in bank. We've got that because the audit of Crédit Agricole SA has validated them. So when I look at what's necessary, and you said it, the transformation is very complex. So of course you need leadership from the top management. You need training. You need management of a change. But the most important for me is an infrastructure and data quality.
Yeah, I would echo both of the things Sophie and Guillaume has said. I think a strong data foundation is essential. If you think about it technically, for the technologists in the room, you can't have an AI strategy without a data strategy. But commercially, if you're looking for ROI, then you've really got to think about bridging those data silos, because if you have those silos, then your AI is not going to be very, very useful. So a platform approach that Guillaume just mentioned, a platform approach is really what organizations are looking to do, to enable self-service. Bring together your structured, unstructured, public or private markets data together with strong governance. And that creates trusted quality data. That's the data you want to surface up to your large language models. And that's really where a lot of the focus has to be able to really get the value of some of this transformation that's taking place today.
Thank you. Sophie, you have highlighted the need to establish governance and a robust operating model to manage AI deployment, particularly to prevent your proprietary intelligence from being captured by large LLM. How do you structure your enterprise-wide AI strategy now in order to ensure this governance and to keep your internal intelligence?
Well, I guess it's a dream we are all pursuing, but we are pretty realistic with what may happen to our data when we use, LLMs. As Guillaume said it, we are highly regulated, so we are extremely cautious with the data we manage because they come with possibilities, but also with I would say obligations that we need to manage. So data is highly segregated, and not everything is accessible to our LLM. And we are working as we speak on identifying possible setups from a data point of view to ensure we can use our entire wide of data. Keeping in place the Chinese walls. We need to keep in place Chinese walls and to be able to demonstrate that they are operational while harnessing the value of data. As you may have seen in my title function, I'm also head of sustainability and impact for Eurazeo. So I manage tech and sustainability, and I've been doing so for the last 20 years now. So as much as there is a craze for AI, In our governance, of course, there are all the regulatory aspects, but there are some very strict ROIs attached to it. And everybody's demanding some project, every function in the company, every investment team wants to launch some projects, and we are extremely disciplined both on the financial ROI, the cost, the return we can expect from it, also the impact that we may have from a sustainable point of view. So the idea is, as much as we want the teams to play with the tools, and we've opened quite widely those possibilities, very soon we are going to narrow down what we allow to be done with our data, also because cost is going to be strictly exponential, but as well as impact. So this is very important to be enforced as well.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Very interesting. Guillaume, Amundi has already gone far beyond small projects and initial projects on AI. Can you share with us a use case you are deploying in Amundi, and specifically and the efficiency and productivity improvements it brought to your organization?
We started our journey around Gen AI in November 2022 when ChatGPT was announced. And you're right, we created our platform, Alto AI Studio, first semester of 2023. So today, where do we stand? We've got 100% of our employees who have access to this platform. 48% of them use several times a day. For me, the KPI is how many people use it several times a day, so that they change the way they do their business. And we've got 20 apps which have been developed. And the plan we announced to the investors is to have 50 of them by the end of 2028. There is one app that I'm really found out. It's a compliance application. Alors, you know, when you are a marketing officer and you have to do a document, of course you do your document and then you know that it needs to be compliant with the prospectus, with the rules. So what do? You send it to the compliance guy or lady, and then you wait. And of course you find that it's too slow and they are too rigid. And so we change the process. Now there is an app that the marketing guy or lady can use. It checks the document and it compares with the prospectus and the compliance rules. And it gives a result. And so he's got the result and he turns it once, twice, 3 times. When it's done and he has corrected, then he sends it to the compliance person. And now there is only one or two maximum. And it has been used for 6 months now. And I've got a few KPIs. Because, as you said, KPIs and ROI is necessary in this. We have seen 50% gain on the validation time. We have seen an 80% success rate from the compliance. It was 30 before. 135 users, and we do 90 documents a month, and it's going up. So it's a real asset management app. And you see the success is because we change the process. It's not the same process, AI, to do the same job. You change the process. And changing the process, the marketing guys learn about compliance in the right way rather than pushing to someone else. So that's the big success that we have, but we've got 20 apps like that.
Thank you, Guillaume. Very interesting to have these KPIs and to share it with us. Thank you. Rinesh, you also highlighted the necessity of discussing impact on return on investment regarding the massive investment that are made in AI. And specifically, can you share with us how financial institutions can measure realistically this impact on this return on investment they can have by bringing AI into their organizations?
Yeah, I think Guillaume had a great example of how the business case they've put in place in Amundi is really shaping some of those metrics. But I think there's 3 big shifts that we're certainly seeing. The first is a cultural one. I think when any new technology comes out, it really becomes a project that customers start, start solving for. It's really the technical win. That's now changed. Everyone is now solving for the commercial outcome, first and foremost. So it starts with, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And then ultimately, what is the data that we need to define that? And then really a focus on what is the large language model or AI capability that I use that connects the data to the outcome. It's no longer about the latest and greatest large language model, but really, as I said, defining the problem, making sure you understand what data you need and bringing the business in. So that's the first thing, a cultural and mindset shift. The second is use case focus and specificity. I think we're moving away from the art of the possible to an acceptance that now we have to really deliver, an outcome from this investment that we're making. And I think, it's clear to see that, this technology works, so we don't have to prove that anymore. What we do have to prove is the ROI. So really thinking about the use cases that we're focused on in financial services is really where the focus is. And I think you're seeing certain patterns. I think, organizations that are looking at AI at an enterprise-wide level are thinking about how do I take this capability and make it solve for many problems. So they're really taking this new technology, infusing it across the entire data lifecycle to solve not for one, but many problems. That's really about productivity and efficiency. The second is intelligence. How do I talk to my data? How do I get new value? The third is the great example Guillaume used around trying to get new insights, deeper insights, more alpha from unstructured data. That's kind of where a lot of the focus is going from a use case perspective. And then metrics. I think now it's about measuring outcomes, and there's clear ways of doing that. The nature of a business case changes. So you're seeing customers focus on things like experience, hyper-personalization, focusing on growth. How do I win new customers? Focus on retention. How do I retain customers? Focusing on scale. How do I get to new segments of the market? And also thinking about risk mitigation. These are kind of the metrics that now are being established as customers try to really measure the outcomes of the investment that they're making in AI. And I think that's good for our industry, considering the investment that we make in technology. I think it's be good from an outcome-based perspective as well.
Thank you, Rinesh. Your data platform perspective is very complementary to this subject, and I would like to know if we think of a crystal ball, what are we doing next? What are the next step in this adoption of AI in our context?
Okay, I'll answer first, but I'll let Guillaume and Sophie obviously chime in. So I think there's a lot of things that we need to do. If we think about what we're really solving for, we're solving for, on one hand, technology, on one hand, data, on one hand, outcomes, on the other hand, business, technology leaders, data leaders. There's a lot of things that need to come together. So I think the first is, and thinking about these things not in isolation now. We've got to really think about them sequentially. So if you think about data, I think or AI, it's no longer about an AI first strategy, but a data and AI strategy. I think those are things that need to come together closer. The second is the large language model. If you think about where we were 2 years ago, it was about one model. I don't think the world is about one model anymore. I think customers have understood that this is about access to the best of breed models. I think there's going to be, as I say, a focus on no longer the art of the possible, but a focus on specific use cases, prioritization, intentional AI. I think that's going to be here to stay. We talked about the agentic experience. The consumer's fundamentally changed. We're no longer necessarily solving for humans and applications, we're solving for agents. So now you have to think about MCP. How do I service up data to that agent? How do I make sure there's a semantic view, a semantic layer? So all these things need to be better described so you get accurate answers. And I think the last one will be about risk mitigation. We still have to put in place the right controls. This is a highly regulated market. We have to think about hallucinations, risks, toxicity, purely from the lens of, not just from the lens of data, but AI and agents as a holistic strategy. So those are things I think we need to continue to do better if we're going to deliver an end-to-end strategy.
Thank you. Guillaume, Sophie?
Maybe first, it goes so quickly that the first thing which is important, especially for managers, experts, in banks is to follow what is happening. If you don't, I see sometimes CEOs or CEOs who tell me, I tested the software 6 months ago, it doesn't work. I say, come on. If you tested ChatGPT 6 months ago, it's worthless. You need to be in the process. But going back to the big changes, the big change is first efficiency. We know that in the service industry, and we've measured that in Amundi, you can make gains between 20 to 40%. The next one will be AI, will be between the customer and the banks. Today, we have interactions through through applications. Tomorrow, it will be through AI, and we need to change the way we access to our clients.
And maybe to add to what my fellow panelists are saying, so I'm going to disappoint you. I'm not going to have a crystal ball that goes beyond the next 12 months. So we've developed, like Amundi, a platform. We have our agents. We know we are going to throw a lot to the garbage. So we've developed a new way of working in tech. So go super fast, be ready to throw to the garbage because you need to renew. So we know we are going to renew everything we are doing. And so that's what's going to happen, first thing. And second thing, we are working very hard on how we are going to keep alive the critical minds of our teams. So for example, teaching them how do you cross the results of one LLM with another LLM and maybe a third LLM so that you create understanding convergence. What makes a great investor is a critical mind, and an investment is not only a sum of data, it's also understanding the talent of a management team. So we need to leverage, to harness what AI brings, and we're all in for it. But we also need to keep what makes our key differentiator works to drive value for our clients. And that comes with critical mind and selecting the best teams, both for us and for our investments.
Sophie, Guillaume, Rinesh, thank you very much for having shared with us this precious insight.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Camille.